Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope y'all are having a super fantastic day today. In today's video, we are checking out Middle-earth: Shadow of War. Hey guys, welcome to my review of Shadow of War. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy the video, leave a like and consider becoming a subscriber. Without further ado, let's just hop right into the review. So first off, this is a continuation to the 2014's Shadow of Mordor, which was a fantastic game, by the way. If you haven't played that one, I'd highly recommend playing that one first before hopping into Shadow of War, as Shadow of War is a continuation of that first game. So if you haven't played it, it'll be a little bit confusing about what's going on. But anyways, guys, I played that first one, Shadow of Mordor, when it came out, and it was a fantastic game, and I really wanted to play this one when it came out, but for some reason, I just never did, never got around to it, and then just a few months ago, it was free on the PlayStation Plus free game of the month type deal, and so I was like, hey, it's free now I don't even have to pay for it. But, so I got it, and better late than never. And as with all my videos, we'll go ahead and we'll start with the things that I didn't particularly like, and then we'll move on to the things that I very much enjoyed. So one of the first things that I really noticed that I didn't like, especially with this game, I don't really remember if Shadow of Mordor had this or not, but you have a very cool customization that you can do. Like, you get different armor sets, you get different swords, and you can kind of make Talion, which is your main character, look the way that you want to look, which is freaking fantastic. I love that in games. I love to customize my character. But the downside is, which is kind of my con for this, is that you get to customize your characters, but then there's these cool cinematic cutscenes. Not all of them are very cinematic, but there's all these cutscenes. And in those cutscenes, your character is not wearing anything. He's wearing the what do you call it? The normal attire that Talion normally wears on the cover and at the very beginning of the game. And so it was kind of annoying because it's like, oh, I wanted to see Talion the way that I wanted to see him, not, you know what I mean? And there's plenty of games that do that too, but there's also plenty of games that when you customize it, you actually look like your character in the cutscenes, which is what I wanted. And that was kind of the very first thing that I noticed right off the bat, is that my customization options didn't really matter when it came to cutscenes. So moving on to our next thing that I didn't quite enjoy. Let me just say, first off, Shadow of War is just filled to the brim with content, which is a plus. That's not a bad thing. I freaking like that in games. Always something to do. But I did find that some of the missions were, I don't know, just kind of filler missions. Nothing really significant happened in it, nothing of importance, and then there's just some of them that were just really short, that it's why was this even a mission kind of thing. I don't know, there's just some where you had to go and basically run over and find this intel on the wall or something, you know what I mean, something that I didn't feel necessarily needed to be a mission, or just wasn't. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, or I'm trying to find the right words, but yeah, it just felt like it was kind of thrown in there just to make the game a little bit longer. So kind of, a filler missions just to make that game just a little bit longer. And that was just something that I didn't quite like, because you could have just cut those out or added it part of another mission, and the game still would have been great. It didn't need to be its own mission all on its own kind of thing. And that was just something that I personally didn't particularly like. Now this next part wasn't necessarily something that I encountered, but I'm going to throw it in the video just for your guys' sake, is the microtransactions. I know that was something that really brought down the score, and microtransactions I feel really just hurt games, and this, when it came out, I know was just littered with microtransactions. But you'll be happy to hear that they actually cut those microtransactions. Yes, there's some things that you can purchase, like the DLCs and whatnot, but basically everything now is in-game, and that happened when they came out with their Definitive Edition, which is basically the complete edition that comes with the DLCs and everything. So I know that was one thing that a lot of people didn't like. Good news is, no more microtransactions. Now, moving on to the things that I really enjoyed about this game. There's quite a few things that I actually really, smacking my mic over, really enjoyed. One of my favorite things is I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I'm a big Star Wars fan. You know, all those big franchises, I love them. And Lord of the Rings is, you know, something that I've loved for a long time, ever since I read The Hobbit way back in, you know, grade school. And so this is something that I really enjoyed. I really like the creative use of how they used the Lord of the Rings story and made their own story that kind of intertwined with the, you know, the Tolkien books. And there might be some plot holes. I haven't, you know, done any deep dives to see, you know, what the game contradicts and stuff like that. But ultimately, overall, I really enjoyed this new look on Lord of the Rings and their new story. So going off of this story, just a kind of a quick recap of what Shadow of War is about. Basically, this game picks up right after the events of the first game, which is Shadow of Mordor. Our character that we play as, our protagonist, his name is Talion, and he's kind of like, paired up with this like elven wraith dude that's already died but hasn't like moved on kind of thing, and his name's Celebrimbor. He's the guy that made the Rings of Power with Sauron. Sauron made his own Ring of Power, of course. But basically at the end of Shadow of Mordor, they decide that they're going to basically save Mordor from freaking Sauron, and they decide to make their own game, or not own game, sorry, own ring to counteract Sauron. And you encounter Shelob, which we've read from the books and the movies that she's the giant spider, but this, they kind of did a new kind of twist, which I really liked, and they made her kind of a humanoid person that can transform into a spider, and then eventually towards the end of the game she loses that ability and she's basically goes full spider. But you kind of encounter her, and she helps and directs you on the best ways to beat Sauron, because she originally sided with him, and kind of gives you ways that you can beat him, because she also wants to take him down. And then towards the end of the game, you realize that Celebrimbor, who's kind of paired up with you, doesn't necessarily have the best intentions. Yes, he wants to destroy Sauron, which was your original goal, but Talion wants to, you know, cleanse Mordor of the Dark Lord, and Celebrimbor is just calling himself the Bright Lord, and he's like, Bright Lord, Dark Lord, he's like, you guys are still evil. You guys still have the same intentions. And so at the end, Celebrimbor leaves Talion, and when they split, they happened this in the first game, when they split from each other, Talion's body basically goes back to how it was when he first died, when he got his neck or throat slit. And so once Celebrimbor leaves and he goes with this other girl, which is like an assassin for Galadriel, he starts to die. He picks up a ring that they killed from Isildur, which was a wraith. That's also a cool little twist I really enjoyed too. I will get to that in a minute. But he puts the ring on, and the ring slowly corrupts him, because it's, you know, a ring that Sauron made, but he's using it to stop, you know, the wraiths and stop evil from Middle Earth. And then the last boss fight is actually not with Talion, it's with Celebrimbor and the assassin, I forget her name, but she's like the assassin for Galadriel, and you fight Sauron, which was awesome. It was a much better fight than the first game, like hands down. And that's pretty much the sum of what the story is about. Is, you know, kind of the same as the first one. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's just to stop Sauron. Well, actually, this one, that's not true. The first game, you're trying to stop the Black Hand, and then in this one, you're like, you know what, we need to actually stop Sauron.
In the body of elf or man.
Moving on to the next thing that I really enjoyed was the leveling up of skills. I don't even know what you'd call it. The skill tree. That's the word I'm looking for. Skill tree was really cool. And in each of those little sub skills like combat and ranged and wraith, you even can get things on top of it. Like, for instance, when you do like the sword ability or the heavy attack or whatever, you can do the one that you can get an instant kill with a perfect parry, and stuff like that. So I always thought that that was really cool. Moving on to the next one that I really liked. I said this before, the game is just plumb full of content. And not only that, but there's tons of areas to go to. Like, you don't just stay in one specific area. There's like 5 different like little like fortresses that you take over, and that's something I just really enjoy. There's just ton of stuff to do. There's never a time where you're like, oh, what do I do? Like, is awesome. And one of the last things that I really liked was just the boss fights, dude. A lot of the boss fights in this were really fun. We already kind of saw Sauron. One of my favorites actually in the whole game was when you get to fight a Balrog, which was freaking awesome. That was one of my favorite things from like the Lord of the Rings movies, was seeing you know, the Balrog fight. So it was really cool to see that and actually get to fight the Balrog. That was a whole lot of fun. There's plenty of other boss fights like that in the game. You know, the Balrog and Sauron probably being one of the better boss fights. But like I said, they're all very much enjoyable. And probably the last thing that I really enjoyed, which is kind of a trademark for these Middle-earth games, is the Nemesis system. Super fun. Always, I don't know, it's really cool about, like, if you get defeated by an enemy, that now enemy becomes promoted and is now stronger. And you can get like rivals and stuff like that. So like the whole like system is super fun. It's unfortunate the, you know, controversy that's going around about it, how they're, you know, trying to patent it, which is kind of scummy. But, you know, regardless of all that stuff, the Nemesis system in the game is incredibly fun, and I enjoy it. And I really hope that they utilize this system in other games that are coming up, because that was just something that I really enjoyed about Shadow of War and also Shadow of Mordor. And that pretty much sums up, you know, the things that, you know, the pros and cons that I, you know, kind of came up with, things I didn't like, things I really did like. Yeah, man, you know, there's just some things that were good, and then the story I thought was really awesome. Gameplay was extremely fun. Story was great. Now, if I were to give my, you know, review for this game out of 10, for me personally, I think it would be, I would say an 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. Really great game. I really love the story. That, and I'm a big, huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I was, you know, prone to really like it anyway. Yeah, guys, let me know what you guys thought. Have you played this game before? You know, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning into the video. If you enjoyed the review, please consider becoming a subscriber. Drop a like on the video. And just big shout out to everyone that watches my videos, whether you're a subscriber or not. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. You guys are freaking awesome, and we'll catch you on the next one.
To hold back the darkness.